Hare Krishna, welcome to the Bhagavad Gita series of 2021. We are still on chapter 2, but a very, very exciting portion of chapter 2. We are deep into the message of Lord Shri Krishna. But before we go deeper, let us recite the Mangalacharan Prayers. Let me share my screen. And these are the prayers that we will be reciting. And we will start first with two prayers towards Srila Prabhupada, and then these prayers. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine. Now these ones. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padkamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. I forgot to send a message on the group that the class has started. Let me just send a message. One second. Okay, great. So let me stop sharing. So last time we covered all question answers. We didn't cover any verses, but I think it was good. A lot of questions were pending. Today also I plan to spend some time in Q&A, but I will spend a lot of time on the concepts. I want to introduce some very key concepts today. Before we get into that, couple of things. First of all, please unmute. There are some people who are unmuted. I mean, please mute. Okay. Next thing, like I usually say.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Did you have a question or?
No. I just joined the class.
Okay, that's fine. So what was, so yeah, some important things. Like I say every time, please find a nice quiet place. This is an all too important subject. And please, listen with very careful attention. Today, we will be covering some very, very important concepts, and then we will go through some of the verses as well so that it makes sense. And make sure you don't unmute and it kind of, breaks the chain of thought. And ask your questions as we are going along, and ask fully formed questions, not questions that would only make sense if read at the appropriate time. The questions I will read later, and they should make sense even if read later. So not like I did not understand this concept. Later on, I would not know what this concept is. So whatever your question is, put it, and the earlier you put in your question, the better it will be. I will know what, which questions to be taken first. Or you can raise your hand, etc., and ask questions. So that is one thing. And last week we did not have the Q&A session. This week we will have the Q&A session tomorrow, at least from my standpoint, for those in other parts of the world. So basically in about 15 hours from now, basically 10 a.m. Pacific time. Now, another very important point, we also are doing this Srimad Bhagavatam series. This week, on Tuesday, which is about 3 days ago, today is Friday from my standpoint. On Tuesday was the birthday or the appearance of a great Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, who is the author of the commentaries of the Bhagavad Gita that we are reading. And his picture is there on every Bhagavad Gita that you are holding, which is AC Bhaktivedanta Swami. AC stands for Abhay Charna Aravinda. So it was not only his birth anniversary, it was his 125th birth anniversary. And he is our most worshipable, respected Acharya, who has brought this message of Bhagavad Gita exactly as Lord Krishna intended to be disseminated to the people of the world. So it is our great joy and fortune that it is his 125th anniversary of appearance on this planet. And in the Bhagavatam class tomorrow, we will spend some significant time sharing and discussing a little bit about his life. So please join that class to appreciate the great privilege and the great fortune that he has given us by giving us this transcendental spiritual message. So that's tomorrow. Okay, having said that, we will now start our discussion. So in our discussion, let me now start this screen sharing. And this is our Jamboard session. I hope you can all see this. So we are still on chapter number 2. And we covered the sections 1 to 10, 11 to 30, and now we are on the next section, which is 31 to 38, the third section. And this third section is called Karma Kanda. Okay. And in this section, Lord Krishna is taking a very big U-turn. A U-turn. He was going like this, then he goes in the opposite direction. So a big U-turn is occurring in this section. So from here to here. Here, this was the section of Jnana or Sankhya, which means this is the Jnana or the Sankhya section, or also known as the Atma Jnana section, which is basically the analytical study of matter and spirit. Spirit, another name is soul. Matter, another name is body. So the body is material and the soul is spiritual. Okay, so that we had covered in the second section, which is 11 to 30. And there, if you remember, or maybe you can just flip back to some of the verses, Lord Krishna was talking about the eternality of the soul. And also he was talking about equality. There was a lot of discussion that one should rise above the duality and go to the equality aspect. Just in case you're being a little lost, duality means happiness and distress. Okay? Or heat and cold, etc. Sukha, dukkha. And in the spiritual side, or those who are spiritually elevated, they rise above duality. This was given in verse numbers 2.14 and 2.15. If you see, Matra sparshastu kaunteya shita ushana sukha dukkha daha. That these shita ushana means heat and cold, or winter and summer, sukha dukkha, they are all matra sparshastu. They are all just sense perceptions. Our sense organs perceive these things, but one must learn to tolerate them. In the next verse, 2.15, Lord Krishna is saying, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress is steady in both, and is steady in both is certainly eligible for liberation. So, sama sukha dukkham, sama dukkha sukham dhiram. So who is dhira, who is steady in sukha and dukkha, who is steady in these, which means rise above this duality. That is what is Atma Jnana. And of course, there is a whole discussion. This is a small portion of Atma Jnana. Rest of the discussion was about the properties of the soul and all those things which we had discussed. You can go back and listen to the previous lectures. Why am I discussing this? This was what was discussed. Part of it was discussed in the Atma Jnana or the Sankhya section of the Bhagavad Gita so far. Now, Lord Krishna is going to take a big U-turn, and he is going to say, don't rise above duality, but he is going to say, indulge in duality. Indulge in duality. Wait, what? Why is he saying that? Why Lord Krishna is now saying the exact opposite, that you must indulge in duality? So this he is saying to provide the beginning point of where we are. The first section, 11 to 30, the Atma Jnana or the Sankhya section, first he was explaining the spiritual aspect of it, those who are making spiritual progress. So this is for spiritual elevation. Indulge in duality is for material elevation. Okay, you are following? Indulge in duality is verse numbers 31 to 38. So there is a contrast. The Atma Jnana section is talking about rising above duality. The section 31 to 38, which is also known as the Karma Kanda section, as I mentioned, is about material elevation, not spiritual elevation. And then in the final section of this book, Lord Krishna will merge the two and show how to do both. Or not exactly, but when we will come to that section, I will explain in more detail. So Lord Krishna is going to show both sides. Spiritual elevation, we already talked about. Now, material elevation. Okay. So we will go through verse by verse, but just so that you get a taste of this section that we are going to discuss, which is 31 to 38, I am going to read, or actually let me ask you to read, because when you read, it has more focus. Take 3 minutes and read these 9 verses. Not 9, 8. 8 verses. Please take 3 minutes, read these 8 verses, just the translations by yourself from the book. Of course, this is 2.31 to 38. Read the verses, don't do anything else. One more minute. Thirty seconds. Okay, great. So I hope you got a chance to read these 8 verses, just the translations, and got some flavor of where things are going, what Lord Krishna is saying. So, as you can see, I'll just pick a sample verse that verse number 34. People will always speak of your infamy. Akirtim cha api bhutani. Akirti. Kirti means, fame. Akirti means infamous, or people will speak badly about you. And for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death. So Lord Krishna is talking about honor is better than dishonor. You should at least, be honorable, even whether you win or you die. Be honorable, don't be dishonorable. So he is talking about indulgence in duality. Honor and dishonor are duality. So that is the whole section is full of duality, and Lord Krishna is encouraging it. So what is going on here? So we will go through these eight verses systematically, but before that, I want to explain this concept. And this concept is known as the concept of Karma Kanda. What is the concept of Karma Kanda? Karma Kanda concept is very simple. All it says is that you do your work, whatever the work may be. Do your work, you will get the result, enjoy the result, and go back and do your work. So constantly be in this cycle of working and enjoying. You must have heard this 4-step sequence, dharma-arth kama moksha. Okay, that is, let me write that down. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Okay, so what does this mean? What this means is that you do dharma or dharmic activities. Of course, if you do adharmic activities, you will be put in jail. So don't do anything adharmic. If the police will not put you in jail, Yamaraj or the law of karma will put you in jail. Basically, you will make downward progress. So you have to do dharmic activities. In other words, and we will see what is the meaning of dharma little bit later. But in general, you understand dharmic activities, let's just say it means legal activities. When you do legal activities, you get artha. Artha means property or wealth, etc. Material opulence, material things you get from that, whether you get money, you work hard legally, you don't rob a bank, you do some legal work, you get money. And then kama. Kama means enjoy. Enjoyment, or very, you can say very, very, very deep enjoyment. So depending on how much money you earn, you enjoy. Okay. And then when you enjoy, you realize, okay, this formula works. I did dharmic activity. I got the benefits using which I could enjoy. The end goal is enjoyment, or we will say material enjoyment, because it's not spiritual enjoyment. You are just enjoying the property or the wealth that you earned. And then after kama, you come back to dharma, because you want to enjoy more kama. So you come back to dharma. Let me do more dharmic activity. And you all do this every day. At the end of the month, you get the salary. Then you say, aha, this company is good. If I work hard for 1 month, they give me money. Let me go back and work for 1 more month. And like that, the cycle keeps on going. So this cycle which I have drawn here, let me just draw it in a different color, keeps on repeating. We go from dharma, artha, kama, dharma, artha, kama, dharma, artha, kama. We are all in this cycle. This cycle is nothing but it is called Karma Kanda. Okay. Now we have a fourth stage also called moksha. Why is that there? I will explain that in just a second. But this cycle, I will draw it in the blue color, or this box, is Karma Kanda. And what Lord Krishna is asking Arjuna to do is this Karma Kanda. For Arjuna, the dharma is to fight the battle. That is his dharma at that point. He is the warrior. He is the leader of one side of the army. And he is one of the Pandavas who has been very unfairly treated. So to get justice, Lord Krishna is saying, you serve justice on the Kauravas. That is the dharma of a Kshatriya that Arjuna is. Just like the dharma of a police is to catch the thief. So Arjuna is being asked to perform his dharma. And then, as you can see, Lord Krishna is saying, you will get artha. You will go to heaven. That is artha. And there you will have enjoyment. That is kama. Or if you stay on this planet Earth and you win the battle or the war, you will enjoy the kingdom. So that is also kama. So either you will enjoy in Swarga, which is also in the material realm. We had discussed this before, that the Swarga is also in the material realm. So either you will enjoy in Swarga if you die, because you will die as a martyr. You will die as a shaheed, or as a one who has died honorably in battle. So you will go to Swarga and you will enjoy there. That is kama. So Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna to indulge in this cycle of Karma Kanda or dharma, artha, kama. Is that clear? Okay, very good. Now we will see what does moksha, where does moksha come in? So let me advance. Now this is going beyond what I'm going to explain now is the important concept that I mentioned in the WhatsApp just before we started the class, that today we will be covering some very important concepts. This is that very important concept. For the next 15-20 minutes, we will be covering some extremely important concepts. So please wake up and listen. I will write here very important concepts to be covered. Okay. Now the process of dharma, I will write it in small letters, artha, kama, and moksha. These are the 4 stages we just discussed. The purpose of dharma, artha, kama, we discussed this cycle. You keep going in this cycle, right? The purpose of this cycle is so that slowly you advance to the right-hand side. So it is like this. You go through this cycle like this, then you go a little bit towards this side, then you go a little bit towards this side, then you go a little bit towards this side, you go a little bit towards this side. So it's like through this cycle, you are making progress towards moksha. And how do you make progress slowly towards moksha? If you see here, we talked about sense enjoyment. We talked about material enjoyment over here. Material enjoyment. There is, when you follow the principles of dharma, the true principles of dharma, they lead you towards regulated sense enjoyment. And the word regulated is very important. That means there is some regulation in the sense enjoyment. So slowly you are brought from the stage of a complete. So on this side is complete animalistic life on this side of the spectrum. Like an animal has no understanding that I have to make spiritual progress towards moksha. To an animal, you give him as much sense enjoyment, he wants to do sense enjoyment till he is tired and is about to fall down. Okay? So that is complete animalistic life. There is no end to sense enjoyment. But regulated
Hare
sense.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Are you sharing the right slide?
Oh, sorry. Thank you for pointing out. So this is the, I was mentioning, this is the one end of the spectrum, which is complete animalistic life. And then this is for a lot of people in the world today are living this kind of life. But dharma teaches us not just to live a animal-like life, but to slowly make progress towards the right-hand side. And that is dharma. And that is regulated sense enjoyment. Like that, we can make slow progress towards the right-hand side, towards dharma. What does regulated sense enjoyment mean? For example, dharma tells you, you must fast. Fast means some kind of vrata. Let's say once in 15 days. Do some fasting. Okay. Or get up in the morning, do some worship of the Devis and Devatas, offer something to them. And then by doing those dharmic activities, you will get something in return. So it's a give and take relationship. But you are doing some practice of elevating yourself in the spiritual side. But yet there is a strong desire for artha. That is regulated sense enjoyment. So you do some kind of fasting. So let's say you fast once in 15 days. Who will want to fast once in 15 days? Even once in, nobody wants to even give up eating once in 15 days, let alone once in a week, let alone every day. If there are some people very, strict, they eat one time a day. But this is the beginning stages of practice where you are doing some kind of regulation in sense enjoyment. And then you make progress towards, like that, you make progress towards moksha. But it's a very, very, very long cycle, extremely long cycle. So there are many, many ways. Worshipping of devatas is one of the big ways of regulation. You do some worship for return, for some return. Last week, somebody was talking, I think, about what is prayer. And I had said, really, what is prayer? Most of our prayers are like this, worshipping of Devi Devatas. I will give you 1 rupee, 25 paisa, or 11 rupees, or 101 rupees. You give me a good job. So it's a deal. But at least in your consciousness, you are having the feeling, I must go offer something to a higher authority. The highest level of spiritual understanding is no expectation. Don't ask anything. God has already given us everything. We should just be thankful to him. We should just love him. But this is the beginning stage. Okay, you start talking to some higher authority. That initial practice is what is regulation in sense enjoyment. Okay. So that is the beginning. That is the purpose of this cycle of dharma, artha, kama. So that slowly we make progress towards moksha. And I will explain later how we make full progress towards moksha. So this is called, so let me go to the next slide. This whole process. So I'm going to talk about various stages. So stage number 1 was animalistic life, which means unregulated sense enjoyment. Okay, completely unregulated sense enjoyment. The next stage is called sakama karma yoga. Or let me actually introduce another stage here. This is Karma Kanda. Okay. In Karma Kanda, there is still no regulation, but there is dharma. Dharma as in legal. As an animal, you can even be illegal. You can do whatever. It's called the jungle raj, the law of the jungle, the right of the might. Whoever is the most powerful wins. In this Karma Kanda, there is still no regulation. You are constantly stuck in the cycle of dharma, artha, kama, dharma, artha, kama, dharma, artha, kama. The third stage is where it is sakama karma yoga. Sakama karma yoga. I'll rub out this legal here and I'll just put it here. Sakama Karma Yoga is regulated. So you bring in some regulation into your sense enjoyment. Then the fourth stage becomes nishkama Karma Yoga. Nishkama Karma Yoga means there is absolutely no sense enjoyment. There is absolute zero. You still do your karma, but it is exclusively for someone else. There is zero sense enjoyment. And it means zero sense enjoyment does not even mean any kind of expectation of name or fame or doing this for some loved one, where we feel that I'm doing this for somebody I love. We had discussed this. That is as good as doing something for your own self. When you feed yourself, you feel happy, but we call that sense enjoyment. Even dogs and cats want to feed themselves. But when we feed our loved ones, they are also like an extension of our body. Even the animals like to feed and love their loved ones, their children. You try going near the the baby of a lion or any bird, they will come and attack you because they love their children. So there is also the sakama, or that is also karma kanda. So nishkama means absolute no sense enjoyment, not even any expectation of any kind of recognition or any kind of pride, name, fame, absolutely nothing. Completely nishkama. So that is the next level. And then there are some more levels which we will go in other chapters. This is called as Jnana Yoga. And then Dhyana Yoga. And finally comes Bhakti Yoga. Okay. So Sakama Karma Yoga, Lord Krishna is talking about in 2.31 to 38. That is this is the Sakama Karma Yoga. Nishkama Karma Yoga, Lord Krishna will talk about it in chapter number 3. Also in chapter number 5 as well. Jnana Yoga is chapter 4. Dhyana Yoga is chapter 6. And Bhakti Yoga is chapters 7 to 12. So that is how the first 12 chapters of Bhagavad Gita are divided. So we will cover all these topics in detail as we go along. Okay? But the essence of Bhagavad Gita is Bhakti Yoga. So Lord Krishna is introducing this concept of Karma Kanda, and later he will introduce this in Sakama Karma Yoga concept. So actually, there's a small mistake here. Karma Kanda is 2.31 to 38. And Sakama Karma Yoga is chapter 3. Nishkama Karma Yoga also chapter 3, 5. Some portion of Nishkama Karma Yoga is also there in chapter 2. So Nishkama Karma Yoga is a big topic and it is covered in chapters 2, 3, 5. Karma Kanda is not a very important topic because it is talking about unregulated sense enjoyment. There is not much regulation. Still there is legal. And therefore a very small number of verses have been allocated by Lord Krishna. He's just speaking about it briefly and he's moving on. Okay. So the essence of Bhagavad Gita is Bhakti Yoga. And that is why Lord Krishna is spending 6 chapters on this whole topic. So now let us go into each of these verses and see how Lord Krishna is encouraging the concept of Karma Kanda. Karma Kanda simply means do your work, you will get some benefits, enjoy those benefits. So do your duty. This is dharma. Then you will receive benefits. This is artha. And then enjoy. This is kama. And if you see in verse numbers 2.31 to 38, this whole concept is being described. That's all that this is. So let us look at these verses. So 2.31, considering your specific duty as a Kshatriya, you should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on religious principles. And so there is no need for hesitation. So Lord Krishna is saying, Swadharmam api chaveksha, Swadharma. So this concept of Swadharma. What is your dharma? Swadharma to Arjuna. Arjuna is a Kshatriya. So the duty of a Kshatriya is to deliver justice. A lot of people say duty of Kshatriya is to fight. That is wrong. The duty of Kshatriya is not to fight. Fighting is a part of delivering justice. The higher duty is to deliver justice. They are the people who keep law and order in the society. And as part of keeping law and order, as part of keeping society at a peaceful level, sometimes violence has to be done because there are criminals, there are miscreants. But the duty of Kshatriya is not just to fight. Fighting is simply a tool to maintain law and order and to deliver justice. So Swadharma of Arjuna is fighting or delivering justice. So Lord Krishna is saying that you should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on religious principles. So fighting according to dharma, not adharma. Now you will see on the Kauravas side, there was a lot of adharma. The way they killed Abhimanyu, who is Arjuna's son, was very adharmic. He was completely bare-handed when he was killed. He did not have any weapons left. And they killed him, the Kauravas. And a lot of people say that Lord Krishna told Arjuna to kill Karna when he was fixing the wheel of his chariot. So he was also without any weapons. The understanding of that, this is exactly what Karna asks Lord Krishna just before being killed. Why are you telling Arjuna to kill me when I am barehanded? This is against the laws of war. And then Lord Krishna was the judge. In the last moments, somebody asked another question. Why do people become serious in their last moments? Similarly, when Karna realized that now my end is coming, he could see that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Lord. Before that, he did not have that idea. And then Lord Krishna told him that there is no injustice in delivering justice to a criminal. If somebody has done injustice and the judge tells the police to give capital punishment, then when the police or the jailer gives capital punishment, they hang him or they whatever, whatever capital punishment method is there, that is not called injustice. Those policemen who hang or the hangman is not prosecuted. The hangman is simply carrying out the orders of the judge. And Lord Krishna told Karna, this is your punishment. This is your this is justice that is being delivered to you because you were party to Abhimanyu's killing. So please don't bring up justice. Like a criminal who has killed somebody, and when he is going to be given capital punishment, he cannot say to the judge, please don't kill me, you are doing injustice. That is not a valid argument. But when the crime was committed in the first place, that is injustice. So there were a lot of adharmic people on Kaurava's side, and the whole thing that led to the Mahabharat war was, the whole thing was adharmic. The way in which they tried to kill the Pandavas so many times. They tried to poison them. They tried to burn them in the Lakshagraha. They tried to such badly insult their wife, Draupadi. They tried to kill them again when they were in the forest. And then when they finally returned, they did not even want to give them 5 villages, even though they were entitled to half the kingdom. And the list is very long. So this is a matter of delivering justice. And that is the duty of Arjuna as a swadharma. Now, somebody asked a question. We'll go a little bit into the question answer right now, because this is the right moment. So a very, very interesting question came to me on the Google form. So let me show you the question. How do I? What is this? How do I increase this font? Oh, very good. Okay. So I hope you can see this. So somebody asked this question, and I'll let you read it, but there was some police officer, and he apprehended a dacoit. Long story short, the dacoit said, when he was caught, he said, he quoted the Bhagavad Gita, and he says, why lament the physical body when it is temporary? The soul has not been hurt for all the people that he has killed. He only helped them with liberation. So this is the point this dacoit was making to the police officer, and this person is asking, who is a relative of the police officer. The police officer said, this is what was said. And so this person is asking, what is the truth? Is there any truth in this statement, or how to understand this statement? Okay. So first of all, I just want to say this, we are not going to discuss what is the sort of the criminal justice system of any country. We are not going to get into that. And by the way, there is a very big topic on the capital punishment. It's a huge topic in social debates, just like many other topics are there, abortion or voting rights, or many, many things, racism, etc., etc. These are all these big social topics of today's world. Communism versus capitalism, etc., etc. Nationalism. So capital punishment is another big topic in today's terms. But let me describe. So first of all, to answer this particular question very briefly, in context of Bhagavad Gita, in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna is personally present. On the battlefield, and he is giving instructions to Arjuna, saying that you kill this person. So God, who is the ultimate, the supreme authority of the entire cosmos, of the entire universe, he is giving a particular instruction. For us, for this dacoit, etc., there is no such supreme authority who is present, who is giving this instruction. Okay? So there is no business anybody has to intrude in anyone's life. In the Shastras, there are 4 or 5 categories that are given where one can intrude in somebody's life. What are those categories? Parents, teacher, some management authority, like your, boss in office or whatever, uh, if you are traveling in an aeroplane, then, the ticket collector who asks for the ticket is an authority. You cannot say to the ticket collector, you have no right to intrude in my affairs. I am sitting here on the seat. It is my seat. It is ticket collector's job to ask you for the ticket. So he will intrude in your life. So whatever those authorities are. And finally, the king or the government. These people have the right, according to the Shastra, to intrude in your life. Nobody else has any right to intrude in anybody's life. So unless the dacoit was in one of these categories, to the people, there was no right for him to take anybody's life. Now, of course, it doesn't mean that parent, teacher, management authority, or those 3 at least can take a life. There is no such instruction in the Shastra. Now, in the Shastra, there is capital punishment mentioned. And the Shastra that I'm talking about here is known as Manu Samhita. Manu Samhita is known as the law book for humans or mankind. So there is a provision for capital punishment for certain very specific types of crime. But one must understand that the king or the government must itself be very just and fair. Today's governments and today's authorities or the bearers of justice are themselves very corrupt. So therefore, one cannot say that it is legal for them to deliver justice in the capital punishment way. So if you ask me what is my position on capital punishment, I do not have a position yet. More or less, I am in the favor of no capital punishment, personally, me. Because according to Manu Samhita, yes, capital punishment exists, but it must be delivered by a equally capable and qualified person. There are no qualified such people. Everybody is corrupt to some level or the other. And definitely that dacoit has absolutely no right to take anybody's life. And when he says here that I am liberating, he only helped them with liberation. That is just utter nonsense. Whoever asked this question, you wait and see through the Bhagavad Gita, what is the meaning of liberation, who can give liberation to someone, and so on. A dacoit can give no liberation to anyone. He can just take a life, and therefore he is committing a great amount of sin, and he will have to suffer for that in this life or next life or whenever it is arranged. Okay, so that is the sort of the answer to this part of the question. Now, I just want to mention another point. So these are some of the key concepts that I said we will be discussing today. So what is our dharma? So verse number 2.31 starts with swadharma. The question that you may ask, what is my dharma? Okay. Our dharma is divided into two categories or two angles. One is at the material level, and one is at the spiritual level. And the dharma our dharma that exists at a spiritual level is far greater. Those who are mathematicians will understand this symbol. 3 greater than signs means very, very, very great. The spiritual level dharma is much, much, much greater, which means it outweighs the material level dharma. The material level dharma is known as Varnashrama dharma. Varnashrama dharma. And the spiritual level dharma is Bhakti Yoga. So let us discuss what is Varnashrama dharma. Varnashrama dharma is a 4x4 grid or a matrix. On one side there is brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyasi. And then there is Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. These 4 are known as ashrams. And these 4 are known as varnas. And therefore, it is called Varna ashram, Varnashrama. Okay, so there is the Brahman, and these Varnas are basically a division. These are 16 divisions of society. So I will explain what these are briefly. But these are 16 divisions of society. You could be a brahmachari and a Brahman, or you could be a grahastha and a Brahman. You could be a vanaprastha and a Brahman, or a sannyasi and a Brahman. Now you could be a Shudra and a sannyasi also. Very much possible. Or you could, a given human being could largely be in any of these 16 boxes at any given point of time. And he could progress from one box to the other in this life or in multiple lives. He could progress from one to the other. So let us see what these mean. So first, let us talk about varnas. What are the varnas? Varnas are 4 orders or 4 categories of society based on the guna and karma. This is very, very, very important. The varnas are based on guna and karma, not janma. Janma is a degraded, everything is degraded. Sab kuch nakli hai. Everything you get fake in the Kali Yuga, everything is fake. Or if you give something original, very quickly they will come up with a fake. So the original varnas are based on guna and karma. So by guna, one could be a Brahman. Brahman means one who is interested in learning and teaching others, or basically helping the society to grow up. Kshatriyas, on the other hand, are the category of people whose mindset or mentality and whose interests, whose skills and whose work, whose qualities and work, guna and karma, are to deliver justice. Vaishyas are maintaining the economic aspects of the society, and Shudras are doing just the work. They are following the above three varnas. You need people to execute. Okay? So all four categories are needed. Look at in the modern world, there is like software companies. There are all these software companies, Wipro, Tata Consultancy, Microsoft, whatever, Google, Apple. They have these four categories of people. Who are the Shudras? All the software engineers. Somebody is telling them what to do. So no, it is nothing to laugh. Shudra has become a very bad word. It is not a bad word. It is just a particular category. Somebody is telling them what code to write. So they are writing that code. They are following the orders. That is Shudra. Just following the order and executing. In software companies, we talk about design and execution. Right? So they are the people who are executing. Vaishyas, you can think, are the people who are taking care of the economics, all the sales and marketing people. I'm just giving very rough analogy. Very rough analogy. What my point here, don't miss the point. Okay, there may not be a perfect one-to-one analogy. So don't try to poke on the analogy, but get the point. The point is that for an overall society to work, you need all four categories of people. If you don't have software engineers, what will the salespeople sell? They have nothing to sell. And you may have software engineers. If nobody is buying the product, what's the point of producing the product when nobody is going to sell it? Correct? Kshatriyas may be the managers. You need the managers, the management. And Brahmans may be the designers, the people thinkers who conceptualize the product. This is how it should be. That's how it should be, etc. And they give the directions. Just a very rough analogy I'm giving. You need all these for a successful company. Similarly, you need these four categories for a successful society. You cannot take a salesperson and tell him you write code. You cannot take a software engineer and tell him that you go do selling. You become a salesperson. He will be lost. He will be completely lost. Because that is not his guna. He has not been trained that way. That's not his quality. You cannot take a person from, let us say, some technical institute and make him into a salesperson. You cannot take somebody from a management institute and ask him to write code. Management institute person, which means according to the training, then you can make him into a salesperson because he has learned the management of sales and marketing, whatever. Person who has learned to code or write code can become a software engineer. So training matters. Tell me one thing. And Janma, by the way, is absolutely non-existent in this whole thing, in this whole scheme. Janma doesn't even exist. I will give a very funny example which had been given to me. Let's say you have to, so in a hospital, you need doctors and you need nurses, isn't it? You need both doctors and nurses. Based on their guna and karma, somebody is a nurse. Based on guna and karma, somebody is a doctor or a surgeon. Let us say you have to undergo surgery. So you go to the hospital on the day of the surgery in the morning. And then the nurse walks in and says to you, you know what? I am a nurse. I am not a surgeon. My father is a surgeon. But because my father is a surgeon, he could not come today, by the way, But since I am the son or daughter of the surgeon, I will do the operation on you. But by training, I am a nurse. Will you agree to be operated by that person? What would you do? You would run away from the operating table. You will tell that person, don't even touch me. So being a son or daughter of a surgeon doesn't make you a surgeon. It is your hard work and your training. All those things are the ones which make you a surgeon. And we have these already, these categories, these divisions in today's society. But I have heard so many people say, I live in America, and Americans say, oh, you are from India. Yes, yes, yes. In India, one thing I like everything about India, I don't like the caste system. This caste system has become so degraded. I said, yes, I also don't like it. As long as you consider the caste system to be based on janma. But you know what? We have caste system in America also. We have caste system based on America, but the correct caste system, we call them doctors and nurses. We call them software engineers and managers and designers and sales and marketing people. That is caste system. But that is the caste system in the right way, because it is based on guna and karma. So these are the varnas. The ashrams are a little bit more easy to understand, because they are simply based on one's status in life. Brahmachari means one who is unmarried. Grihastha means who is married. Vanaprastha means who is retired. And sannyasi means who is renounced, who has given up all this family life and is focused on something of his own, whatever it is. Not going after sense gratification. That is sannyas. Okay. And so, by the way, so let me show you this very beautiful verse from the Bhagavad Gita. Now, please look at the screen. Chapter 4, verse number 13, where Lord Krishna says, we'll just read the first line. Chatur Varnyam, the four varnas, Chatur Varnyam. Maya Shrishtam, I have created these four varnas. Maya, Lord Krishna is saying Maya. Maya means I have, or it has been created by me. Chatur Varnyam Maya Shrishtam. Shrishti. Shrishti means creation. Based on what criteria? Guna Karma Vibhagashaha. Vibhag means division. How have these four varnas been divided? Janma Vibhagashaha? No, not Janma Vibhagashaha. Guna Karma Vibhagashaha. And then there is another line which is not relevant right now. Lord Krishna is saying, I am not belonging to any of these varnas. Tasya kartaram apimam vidhi akartaram avyayam. Lord, that is a separate context that Lord Krishna is saying there are these four varnas which have been created by me based on guna and karma, but I am above them. That is talking about the transcendence of Krishna. So let us keep that part aside. We will deal with it in the 4th chapter. The transcendence, or the position of Krishna compared to the four varnas. But all the human beings are in one of these four varnas. Bhagavan is above the varnas. That's what the translation is. According to the three modes of material nature and the work associated with them, three modes of material nature is the gunas. The four divisions of society are created by me. Although I am the creator of this system, you should know that I am yet the non-doer, being unchangeable. So he's giving his position relative to the four varnas. But the point is, part of the point of the verse is that the four varnas are based on guna and karma. Okay. So this is the Varna system. And the ashram system is like that, based on one's status, his sort of marital status, you can say, or his, that kind of status: brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas. This is known as the varnashram system. The purpose now, it's not just, okay, you are in this spot, you are in this spot, you are in this, which box you are in, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. The point is not to put you in a box. That's not the point of the varnashram system. Please pay attention now. What is the point of varnashram system? The point is, first you identify which ashram you are in. Okay? And then for each of the boxes, there is prescription given. 1, 2, 3, 4. Depending on where you are, a prescription is given in the Shastras to make spiritual progress. So wherever you are in this matrix, there is a prescription or a guideline. Some instructions are available for gradual spiritual progress. The purpose of material life is to make spiritual progress. Unless you are at that animalistic life. This is what sakama karma yoga gives you. This is our swadharma, is the varnashrama dharma at the very, very beginning stages. Little bit beyond Karma Kanda and animal life is varnashrama dharma. Little bit above Karma Kanda or animal life. Either way, this is above that. For gradual elevation towards spiritual life. So this is our dharma at a material level. This is what we should do. What we should do? We should follow these prescriptions, these guidelines that are given. Depending on where we are, where we think we are. Now, your question may be, how do I identify where I am? That is a longer question. It is much easier to identify whether you are a brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, or sannyasi. That is much easier. I am a grihastha. I have a wife. I have a family. So I am a grihastha. Now, whether I am a Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra, it's kind of little subjective. Most people are Shudras because they are just following someone else's instructions. Even whoever calls them Kshatriyas are actually Shudras because they don't have any intelligence, dharmic intelligence of their own to discriminate what is right, what is wrong. Somebody is telling them do this, they are just doing it. But anyway, that is a longer discussion of what category we are in, how to identify that. And that is also a process of spiritual inquiry. It's part of spiritual inquiry. Now I want to go to this other side. I will tell you that this varnashrama system is not even important. Don't even worry about it. No need to bother yourself to identify which box of the matrix I am in. Instead, directly go to Bhakti Yoga. That is the instruction of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita says, don't stay at the material level. Directly you jump to the spiritual level. And where it is given, I will show you some very, very important verses. And these verses that I will show you are from Srimad Bhagavatam. So I will open Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2. Arguably, this Chapter 2 is one of the most important chapters in all of Srimad Bhagavatam. Canto 1, there are almost 300 chapters in Srimad Bhagavatam across the 12 cantos. And this chapter 2 of Canto 1 is one of the most important chapters among all 300. So look at this 6th verse. The 6th verse says, Savai pumsa paro dharmo yato bhaktir adhokshaje ahaituki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. So remember this number, 1.2.6, Srimad Bhagavatam. Savai pumsham paro dharmo. What is the paradharma, highest dharma? We are talking here about swadharma. What is our dharma? The highest dharma, paro dharmo, for the human beings. Pumsham. Savai pumsham. Pumsham means for mankind. The paro dharma is yato bhaktir adhokshaje. Adhoksha. Adhoksha means the Supreme Lord. That paro dharma is bhakti towards adhokshaje. And performed in what way? Ahaituki pratihata. Apratihata. Ahaituki. Ahaituki. Haitu. Hetu. Hetu means for some reason. इस कारण हेतु हमने ये काम किया. So hetu means a cause. You do something for a cause. Ahaituki means without a cause. So the bhakti which is causeless, no cause. Bhagwan, exam pass kara do. Give me a good grade in the exam. Give me a good job. That is not ahaituki. That is haituki. So the bhakti which is best, the paro dharma of human beings, for pumsham, human beings, is that bhakti to adhokshaje, to Krishna, to adhoksha, which is ahaituki. And apratihata. Pratihata means which is broken. Apratihata means continuous, no gaps. Bhakti I will do Saturday, Sunday. Monday to Friday I will do bhoga. Bhoga means sense enjoyment. So that is called broken. Unbroken, apratihata. When you do this kind of bhakti, it becomes yayatma suprasidati. It gives pleasure, complete transcendental pleasure, not material. Transcendental pleasure to the atma, yayatma prasidati, to the self. Highest pleasure. No material pleasure can compare itself with this. This is the parodharma. We talked about swadharma. This swadharma is bhakti. Ahaituki and apratihata bhakti. That is our swadharma. And the varnashrama dharma is simply to support the parodharma. Of course, we have to eat something. As long as we have a body, we have to eat something. We have to live under a house. We have to have some basic things. That infrastructure is simply supporting the parodharma. So there is another verse which we will go into, verses 8, 9, and 10. I will just read the translation. The occupational activities a man performs according to his own position. These are the varnashrama, or the actual duties of a human being. What he may do as a Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, software engineer, designer, salesman, manager, are so much useless, only so much useless labor if they do not provoke attraction for the message of the personality of Godhead. What it means that if these activities that we do in our day-to-day life, if they don't support our bhakti, then they are completely useless. So the purpose of varnashrama dharma is to support bhakti. And here, even Bhagavatam goes on to say that all occupational engagements are meant for ultimate liberation. Varnashrama system is the occupational engagement, is meant for ultimately for liberation. That is where I was going when I said dharma, artha, kama, moksha. If you simply keep doing dharma, artha, kama, dharma, artha, kama, dharma, artha, kama, dharma, artha, kama, and you forget moksha, then you have lost the point of the 4-step process. What is the point of going through the first 3 steps if you cannot reach the 4th step? So the purpose of the first 3 steps, dharma, artha, kama, is to go towards moksha. Remember this particular diagram I had drawn, that spiral diagram which slowly goes towards the right hand side. So this is like a stool, a table or a stool. Here is bhakti. And this is Varnashrama. Varnashrama dharma is simply supporting bhakti. So this bhakti is sitting in a cup on a table, and the legs of the table are the Varnashrama dharma. The purpose of Varnashram dharma is to support bhakti. That is what is being said here. All occupational engagements are certainly meant for ultimate liberation. They should never be performed for material gain, not just dharma, artha, kama and finish. Material gain means kama. It should ultimately lead to moksha. And just the next verse very quickly. Life's desires should never be directed towards sense gratification. One should desire only a healthy life, self-preservation, since a human being is meant for inquiry about the absolute truth. So you should maintain a healthy life, self-preservation. You should maintain a family, have a life. The point of this verse is again this, that our Varnashram system should basically simply support, be a supporting aspect, but the ultimate goal is bhakti. If we throw away bhakti and substitute it with sense gratification, then this is called a wasted life. That is the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, so now I have explained you very clearly. So I will delete this sense gratification and all, and I will replace it with bhakti. And then this becomes successful, not waste. And this whole thing is our swadharma. Performing varnashrama to support bhakti. That is our swadharma. So we have spent almost half an hour on one word of 2.31. What is the first word of 2.31? Swadharmam api chaveksha. So this whole discussion was, what is swadharma? And if you want greater details on what are the duties of mankind, there is a whole canto of Srimad Bhagavatam dedicated to the duties of mankind. Canto 6. It is called Prescribed Duties of Mankind. Whole book, canto, is this thick. It's dedicated to how to perform our duties. You can read it if you are interested in great details. And in Canto 7, there are some very beautiful chapters, chapters 11 to 15, which talk about the perfect society, the 4 social classes. These are the varnas, the 4 spiritual classes, the ashramas, the behavior of a perfect person, ideal family life, and instructions for civilized human beings. So these 5 chapters are describing the varnashram system in detail and how the Varnashrama system supports bhakti or should support bhakti. All that information is given in Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the expanded version of Bhagavad Gita. And I have given you a half an hour synopsis of this whole thing. This was the very, very important concept of today. What is our dharma? So please remember, we discussed today on 3rd September class, we discussed this question, what is our dharma? Okay, so I hope it is clear to everyone what is our dharma. Now, if you want more fine-grained instructions, or I would say guidance on what is specifically my dharma, that is obtained through a guru. Like you can buy a book, How to Be Healthy. In the book, they will tell you all the things you should do to be healthy. You don't need to go to a doctor. They will give you all the healthy recipes, all the exercises, all the things. You can buy a book which gives that. For the spiritual side, your Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita are the books. But if you want very specific advice, then you need a trainer, personal trainer, or you need a doctor or something like that, dietitian, physician, whatever. In the spiritual angle, that person is called guru. And guru can give very specific guidance to a person according to his personal situation. So those who are serious in making spiritual progress should seek a guru. Others can just read the books and try to make progress on their own. But for those who are serious, like if you could go to the gym, you can also get a personal trainer who will work with you on your muscles. So if you're serious about good health, so if you're serious about good spiritual health, one must seek a guru. That is the purpose of guru. Now, guru will not contradict the shastra, of course. Like the physical trainer will not say, oh, go eat chips and go eat ice cream and you'll become healthy. No, he will be consistent with what is written in the books, but his advice will be more tailored to you. So guru will always be consistent with shastra. There is, of course, no point or no, this one of being inconsistent. Okay. So that whole discussion occurred about what is swadharma, what is my dharma. We discussed in detail about varnashrama dharma. We also discussed in detail about what is our original spiritual dharma, which is bhaktir adhokshaje. Paro dharma is bhaktir adhokshaje. Adhokshaje means to God, which is ahaituki and apratihata. So we discussed that as well. So those were some of the very important concepts of today as to what is my dharma. Now we will make further progress on these verse numbers 32 to 38. So verse numbers 32. O Partha, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunity comes unsought, opening the doors of the heavenly planets. Swargadwaram apavritam. Swargadwar. So Lord Krishna is saying that if you fight honorably, like a good soldier, the doors of heaven, Swarga, Swarga will open for you. Now, as we had discussed, I showed you, I think, the chart. Did I show that chart? That where there is the spirit material world and there is spiritual world. But Swarga, so there is earth here and Swarga is here. Did I show that? Maybe I can show it very quickly. Here. So I will increase the, so this is top is the spiritual world. There is Brahma Jyoti in between, and there is material world below. Within that material world are many, many universes. So it is a multiverse. This is showing one of those universes. And of course, this is not to scale for those who are scientifically oriented. And within, I'm zooming in, literally I'm zooming in into one of the universes. And this is known as the Bhuloka, or the Earth planet. And then there is Swargaloka. And that is meant for enjoyment. If you do very, very pious activities, you will go to Swarga. But after spending a lot of time in Swarga, you come back to the Earth planet. I think we discussed this in, so the point of this, showing this, is that Swargaloka, वो कहते हैं भगवान क्या हमारे पिताजी स्वर्ग चले गए, स्वर्गवासी हो गए. That's a nice thing, स्वर्गवासी हो जाना. It's a nice, they will have long enjoyment. But it is not that nice or as nice as going to Vaikuntha. Because when you go to Vaikuntha, Vaikuntha is here. This is Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha Lok. It is in the spiritual world, from where you never come back. From the Swargaloka, you again come back. That is given in Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 9, verse number 20 and 21. Those who study the Vedas and drink the Soma juice, seeking the heavenly planets, worship me indirectly. Purified of sinful reactions, they take birth on the pious heavenly planets of Indra. Surendra Lokam is the verse, is the word. Surendra Lokam. Ashnati Divyan Divideva Bhogan. They enjoy heavily. But once they have enjoyed the vast heavenly sense pleasure, Bhuktva Vishalam, it says, Bhuktva Swargalokam Vishalam, after enjoying a lot of enjoyment in Swargaloka, after it is all done, Kshine Punye, everything is done, all their Punya karma is exhausted, Martya Lokam Vishanti, they come back to the earth. So this Swarga is in the material world. It's a nice place, but it's like a resort, it's like a vacation home. Once your balance, your credit card is overdue, they will kick you out and send you back. And then you have to work to earn more money. So Lord Krishna is saying you will go to Swarga. Basically, he's saying you will get Punya karma. It is not spiritual. The point of this is that it is not spiritual. It is highly material. So Lord Krishna is advocating material benefit. You must fight nicely to get punya so that you will get material benefit, artha, where you will enjoy kama. So do your dharma of fighting so that you will get the artha of swarga, and then you will get the bhoga. You will enjoy with the apsaras. Nice enjoyment. You will eat every day nice food. There is no disease. There is no nothing. No old age. In Swargalok is very nice. You get to enjoy. There is only one problem in Swargalok, which is death. The other problems of Earth planet do not exist. Poverty, old age, disease, these do not exist. Only death exists in Swargalok. So it is enjoyment, but it is temporary. So Lord Krishna is saying, Sukhinha Kshatriya Partha. You will get a lot of sukha. In those verses, Lord Krishna said, Sukha and Dukha need to be treated equally. and then you become eligible for liberation in 2.15. Now Lord Krishna is saying, no, go for sukh. So he is taking a U-turn. ठीक है, समझ में आ रहा है? Happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunity comes unsought, opening for them the doors of the heavenly planets. If, however, you do not perform your religious duty of fighting, sangramam na karishyasi, atha chetvam imam dharmyam, because he's talking to Arjuna. What we need to read from that first line, atha chetvam imam dharmyam sangramam na karishyasi, if you don't do sangrama. To us, it means if you don't do your duty, whatever the duty is according to Varnashrama. But the higher duty is bhakti. If, however, you do not perform your religious duty of fighting, then you will certainly incur sins for neglecting your duties and thus lose your reputation as a fighter. So Lord Krishna is advocating reputation. You must get reputation, name and fame. Okay? People will always, number 34, people will always speak of your infamy, akirtim, if you run away from the battle. And for a respectable person, honor is worse than death. So Lord Krishna is advocating honor. In 6th chapter, he will say, no, don't run after honor. In chapter number 6, 7th verse. One who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached and he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same. This is Jnana. Lord Krishna is saying honor and dishonor should be treated the same. But in this verse, Lord Krishna is saying, no, honor is higher. Because he is starting from this level of sakama karma, of the varnashrama level, and then he will go build up the whole thing from there. This is the slide number 6 that I had shown. So right now, Lord Krishna is talking about this level, regulated sense enjoyment through Varnashrama system. And Kshatriya is in the Varnashram system. Arjuna is married and he's Kshatriya. So he fits in that box of Grihastha and Kshatriya box. So Lord Krishna is advocating the Varnashram system for Arjuna. 35. The great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only, and thus they will consider you insignificant. So again, there are all these dualities, fear and fearlessness, pride and humility. What else is there? Honor and dishonor. What else is there? Sin and pious activities. So much duality is there. Heaven and hell. All these are the dualities. Some person had asked a question, what are the dualities? I will hopefully take up that question today. So all these dualities are present in this section. Your enemies will describe you in many unkind words and scorn your ability. What could be more painful to you? More painful, dukkhataram. Bahut dukh hoga. Too much dukkha, dukkhataram means more pain. So he's talking about pain and pleasure. Again, a duality, pain, pleasure. O son of Kunti, either you will be killed on the battlefield and attain the heavenly planets, or you will conquer and enjoy the earthly kingdom. Therefore, get up with determination and fight. So Lord Krishna is saying, either way you will be enjoying. Either you will enjoy in heaven because you will die an honorable death. So you will go to heaven because you did your duty as a grihastha kshatriya. You protected the honor of your wife. Your wife was disrobed. She was so badly insulted. You have served justice and you are a kshatriya. So you are in the grihastha and kshatriya column box. So because of delivering justice, you will go to heaven. If you die, if you don't die, you will enjoy on the earth. It's all about enjoyment one way or the other. And look at the 38th verse. Do thou fight for the sake of fighting without considering happiness or distress. Now he is taking a U-turn again. So this is very important. So this we will discuss in the next class. But Lord Krishna, from verse numbers, 11 to 30, he was going in one direction, jnana. Then 31 to 38, he went in another direction, which is sakama karma. Sakama karma or varnashrama. Varna and ashrama, varnashrama. And then he's going back again from sort of in 38 onwards, so 37 you can say almost, but 30 it is included in that. So 38 is like a transition verse. It is transitioning into nishkama karma yoga. Nishkama karma yoga. So sakama, then in verse number 38, he's talking about do thou fight for the sake of fighting without considering happiness or distress. Just a few verses before, he was talking about sukha and dukkha. Bahut sukh milega. Now he's saying, don't worry about sukha and dukkha. What is going on? Why is Krishna flip-flopping so much? Without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat. And by so doing, you shall never incur sin. So this verse number 38 is a segue into the Nishkama Karma Yoga section, which I told is going to come in verse number 39 onwards. And that we will cover in the next class. So 38th verse is a segue, is a transition verse. It transitions us from sakama karma or varnashrama to nishkama karma. And that is where the nishkama karma section starts. Some very, very famous verses are there in this. One of the most famous verses, which is karmanyeva adhikaraste, ma phaleshu kadachana, ma karma phalahe turbhur, mate sangostva karmani. Very arguably one of the most well-known verses of Bhagavad Gita is part of this. Do your duty, don't worry about the result. So we will cover that in the next few classes. So hopefully today you understood some very key concepts of the whole progression of spiritual ladder from animal life to unregulated but civilized life. Civilized, but still unregulated, but within the limits. Then from there to Varnashrama, which means living a life of sense gratification, but slowly making progress in a spiral. Like this, you are going up. Slowly you are going up. Then going to the stage of Nishkama Karma Yoga. And then we will discuss the next few stages over the next few months. Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga. And we will spend a lot of time on Bhakti Yoga. So we covered all these topics. I hope it was beneficial. Now we will take questions for next 15 minutes. So there are some questions on the chat and there are some questions on the Google form. I will prioritize those. Your writing on screen has paused. Okay. What is moksha? Moksha is liberation from the material world. Moksha is liberation, or I would say the word moksha, mukti. Moksha and mukti are related. Mukti means if you are in a jail and you become free, it's called mukti. Jail se mukti mili. If you have a bad boss and you change your job or he leaves the job, you say, "Arey अच्छा हुआ उस आदमी से mukti mili." Mukti, moksha is kind of related. It means liberation. Now, moksha in this context means liberation from what? From a bad boss, a bad wife, a bad husband. It means liberation from birth and death. In the material world, there are all flavors, but one thing is constant, which is birth and death. In the spiritual world, there is no birth and death. So one gets liberated from birth and death, plus this is the highest misery. Highest misery of material world, plus all other miseries of material world. What are all the miseries? Go look around. If you don't have any misery, you are very lucky because of your past karma. But all you have to do is to look around. Poverty, disease, COVID. List is very long of all the miseries of the material world. Old age. Old age is also a misery. Okay. Injustice. People are not fair. Injustice. So many miseries in the material world. Being free from all the miseries, and of course, the biggest one is birth, death. The liberation from all these is called moksha. And there, liberation means going to spiritual world. From MW, you go to SW. Material world to spiritual world. That is liberation. Okay, so I hope that is clear. Next question. Nishkama karma. I guess feeling happy or sense of satisfaction is not part of enjoyment. Is that correct? So there is enjoyment. There are two types of enjoyment, at a bodily level and at a soul level. The whole of chapter 2, we talked about difference between body and soul, isn't it? Body dies, the soul lives. It changes bodies, right? Like clothes. We talked about all that in chapter 2, the Jnana section. So enjoyment also is at two levels, bodily and soul. Therefore, in that verse, Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.6, the last line was Yayatma suprasidati. Atma prasidati, not the sharira prasidati. When you do parodharma, savaim pumsa parodharma, bhaktir adhokshaje ahaituki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. The atma, then you get soul happiness. The enjoyment of the soul happens through bhakti. All other enjoyment is bodily. So when you do nishkama karma, if there is any enjoyment of the body that is occurring, and body includes mind, people must be really praising me. Let me see what people are saying. Let me see, Google myself on the internet, how many likes I get, how many friends I get, how many upvotes I get. All that is enjoyment of the body. So that depends on what is the mood or the consciousness with which you are doing the nishkama karma. It is a little hard to distinguish, but it should be with zero enjoyment of the body, and the body includes the mind. Okay. The same person can be Brahman, Kshatriya, etc. based on the situation and the karma desired. Yes, it is possible. It's unlikely, but it is possible that a person could be having a Brahminical attitude or a mindset, consciousness, or his get-up, his his whole nature, and Kshatriya both. It is rare, but it is possible. Like Arjuna. Towards the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, he was being a Brahman. I don't want to fight. I will forgive. One of the qualities of Brahman is Kshama. Kshama and Kripa, mercy. So he was being Brahminical. But Kshatriya's attitude is, no, I must deliver justice. Justice is highest. So that is the Kshatriya Swabhav, nature. So Arjuna had both, mix of both. So yes, it is possible.
Like Vishwamitra?
Yeah, we won't go into the details of Vishwamitra, but yes. Okay. Then I am an entrepreneur and have to work across varnas. Maybe, yes. Again, don't attach too much significance to the analogy I gave of software engineer or a software company. Okay, that is just an analogy. These Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra are much deeper principles. Okay, entrepreneur could just be following a formula. Okay, my friend or I read this in the book of how to do entrepreneurship. I'm just doing it. If that is the way, and you are really not being very creative and all that, then maybe it's a Shudra. So again, there are various levels, and definitely in the Varnashram system, there are definitely a lot of subtleties, and one could be in one Varna or the other. It's a complicated system. But the purpose is not to identify which Varna you are in. The purpose of human life is to perform bhakti. And then let the Varnashrama simply be support system for bhakti. Okay, so one should not put too much focus on Varnashrama system. Wherever you are, the goal should be to perform bhakti. Okay, please show the chart again. Which chart is being talked about? I think the creation poster. Is that what is being asked? See, this is how I say, don't, you must ask the question fully. Please show the chart. Are you talking about the chart I had drawn? This chart?
No, she was asking about the creation poster when you were showing it. The question had
I
come
thought
at
it
that
could
time.
be any of these. This could be a chart also. So creation poster is available on our Google Drive. You are familiar with our Google Drive? So if you are not, all you have to go to is to the website gitapdx.com. And there in Bhagavad Gita, or right at the top, there is a link called useful links. Just click on that. It will take you to the shared folder, Bhagavad Gita material shared folder. You go into this shared folder, you will see, you can browse through this. In this, there is a folder called Interesting Documents. And there is the creation poster right here. It's all available to you. You can download it. So I don't need to show you. You can download it and look at it for as long as you want on your own computer. Okay, so you must be familiar with this link, this page, gitapdx.com. Within that, useful links page, and then within that, this materials. All right. So all these resources are available to you. Please make use of it. How do we know there is moksha beyond this life? There is a question. How do we know that moksha exists? So that is where we come to Bhagavad Gita. Our faith in Bhagavad Gita. There is no test that you can do from the material world about the existence of spiritual world. Moksha is a spiritual aspect because it is talking about something not in the material world. So the question is, how do we know what is the proof that there is moksha beyond this life? Again, I will go back to that topic of test of reality. Not everything has a test, has a material test. Not everything has a material test. Even many of the material things don't have a material test. I talk about it in detail in this topic called What is Reality? It is on the YouTube channel. What is reality? So there is no test, unfortunately, except for faith in Bhagavad Gita and faith in acharyas. And what is there is that, I was not sharing the slide. This faith in Bhagavad Gita and the acharyas. Now there you can test. Many things in Bhagavad Gita can be tested. They can be tested. For example, presence of God. You sincerely perform bhakti, God will contact you. I guarantee you, in some way or the other, you will feel the presence of God. So that builds the faith in Bhagavad Gita. Aha, if this part of Bhagavad Gita is true, then maybe the whole of it is true. Okay? And we are talking about some serious concepts like presence of God. Not just Bhagavad Gita also talks about eating well, sleeping nicely for good health. That even a doctor can tell you. You don't need Bhagavad Gita to tell you that you should not speak lies. Otherwise, the police will catch you. All those things, you should eat nicely, eat good, healthy food. That is also there in Bhagavad Gita, but that is not the main message. But this presence of God is one of the main messages of Bhagavad Gita, and it is testable by sincere and serious practice of bhakti. So if this part of Bhagavad Gita is true, or is you feel that you are seeing the reality in this, then it can build the faith in the rest of it. How do we ascertain that we are on the right path leading to moksha? So last time or at some time we had discussed, how do you know if you are making spiritual progress? One of the tests is to test, are my attachments reducing? That is one of the tests, one of the litmus tests. Are my attachments reducing, or are they increasing or staying constant? Moksha means, and there are others also which we will discuss during the course of the sessions. Moksha means getting liberated and attaining Vaikuntha or Swarga. Of course, attaining Vaikuntha. Swarga is in the material world. I have explained this so many times. So attaining Swarga loka is not moksha. Again, let me draw this chart. This is material world. This is spiritual world. Vaikuntha is here. This is moksha. Here is earth. And here is Swarga. If you go from earth to Swarga, that's not moksha. But if you go from earth to Vaikuntha or from Swarga to Vaikuntha, you can also go from Swarga to Vaikuntha. It is very rare, extremely rare to go from Swarga to Vaikuntha, but it is possible in some very rare case. But anyway, when you go from material world to spiritual world, that is moksha. Okay. Last question. The purpose of human life is to realize God. And it can be done through Karma Yoga or Jnana Yoga, and not only by Bhakti Yoga. Is that not correct? Yes, it is correct. 100% correct. Oh, we have reached the last page. So I will just say it verbally and then we will end. Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga all are possible means. But the best among them is Bhakti. And I am not saying this, Lord Krishna says this. I will just show this and end. Chapter 6, there is a beautiful verse. 2 verses at the very end, 46 and 47. Lord Krishna says, a yogi is greater than an ascetic, greater than the empiricist, and greater than the fruitive worker. So there is the tapasvi. So yogi is greater than a tapasvi. Tapasvi is a dhyana yoga form. It is yogi is better than a jnani, and yogi is better than a karmi, karma yoga. Okay. So Lord Krishna is talking about these 3 stages, karma, jnana, and tapasya. Yogi is better, and what kind of yogi is better? That comes in the next verse. Among all the yogis, yoginam api sarvesham, among sarvesham means all of the yogis. Among all the yogis, yoginam api sarvesham, who is the best? Yukta tamo. Yukta tamo means in the best possible engaged way. Yukta tama. Tam means the best, like priyatama. There is a word called priya. Priya means I love you or beloved. Priyatam means most beloved. In the same way, yukta tama means the most or the best engaged person. So who is the best engaged yogi? Shraddhavan bhajate yomam. Who is doing my bhajan with Shraddha? That is bhakti. In Jnana and Karma, there is no concept of Shraddhavan bhajate yomam. That concept of with Shraddha doing bhajan of Mam means Krishna, is only in bhakti. Mad gatera antaratmana. Mad gatera, in his antaratmana, in his innermost heart and mind, I am existing. That is bhakti. Like Hanumanji, he showed his heart. Who was there in his heart? Shri Ramji. That is why Hanumanji is called the topmost bhakta of Shri Ram, because he is mat gater antaratmana. In his antaratmana, I am sitting. And he is always doing Shraddhavan bhajate yoam, Jai Shri Ram, Jai Shri Ram, Jai Shri Ram. That is Hanumanji, isn't it? And he is a bhakta. He is not a jnani. He is not a karmi. He is not a tapasvi. Have you ever heard Hanumanji being categorized as that? No. So these are all valid paths, but the best among them is mat gater antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam. So that is the answer to that question. And we will discuss this topic in more great detail as we go in rest of Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 6 we will discuss, chapter 7 we will discuss, chapter 9 we will discuss, chapter 12 we will discuss. We will discuss this topic in great detail in all these chapters. Okay, that's all for today's session. Thank you very much. We will have the Q&A session tomorrow in about 13-14 hours, basically 10 a.m. Pacific time. Please come for that. We will answer more questions over there. And tomorrow, Saturday, Srimad Bhagavatam, we will also discuss the life of Srila Prabhupada because it is his 125th anniversary. Recently in India, Narendra Modi gave a very beautiful speech on glorifying Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
So, is it IST or what would be the IST time tomorrow?
Are you on the WhatsApp group?
Yes.
So we have posted the time. You can have a look. It is
Okay.
10 a. The question answer session is at 10 a.m. Pacific time. You can convert it to IST. It will be, I think, 10:30 p.m. Pacific Indian time, and the Bhagavatam class will be at
30, I think.
10
6:30
a.m. 6:30 a.m.
Hare Krishna.
Indian time. Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.